Today was a good day to be a Silksong fan. The release date is here, and I have about 157 different types of emotions in my body right now, and I do not know how to articulate any of them. It has been so long that it feels absolutely unreal to be so close. It feels absolutely unreal to be able to play this game in 14 days. But one real thing right in front of me is the release date trailer that we got mere minutes ago as of writing this. Probably a day ago when you're gonna see this. This is my frame by frame analysis of the final Silksong trailer. And I think I might have found something insane here. But today we are not only doing that though, there are also some screenshots many of you will have missed. But that said, we'll have to wait till the end of the video, so let's get started with the trailer first, shall we? After strings glide across our screen, the first real scene is shown, and it's from Moss Grotto from the start of the game, and we have seen this place so often already. This is the second room of the game to the left of the starting room. We can move on to what I assume to be quite shortly after we break down in front of this NPC, and it seems to be an introduction to the greater area of Moss Grotto, and an introduction to the vastness of Farloom. This is actually the same place as the opening room shown off in the first trailer, so here they are side by side, and interestingly, both feature these bugs flying away even though we now stand further left in the room. Thus they have changed when the flight of the bugs is triggered. We're gonna return to this room in a few minutes. Next up we see Bonebottom again, and it has changed quite a bit. Here's what it looked like in 2019. And here is what it looks like now. It is way darker and grimmer, and there's also now a statue in the far back that was not there before, and of course a bench that was not there before either. We also see someone happily hammering away at what might end up being a quest sign, or maybe some other kind of thing we'll be able to interact with. Moving on, there are two interesting things about this scene right here. First up, I love to see how the Fisher bug only attacks once it sees Hornet. Makes it feel much more like an alive creature instead of just, starting to aggro when we are somewhere near it. Secondly, we will be able to sip towards these rings with the harpoon upgrade, as we will see many times over in this trailer, which will massively increase our speed throughout areas when we backtrack, for example. Speaking of areas, I cannot pinpoint this next one. We have got some quite distinct stone formations that, to my knowledge, we have never seen before, but someone we have seen before are the Caravan. This troop of bugs is basically our reason why we should find the fleas that have gotten lost in Farloom. The fleas are basically the same as the grubs from the first game. We also see this bug right here for the first time ever, and I don't know about you, but this one screams major sleazebag to me. I will not trust this guy. I shall name him Patches to commemorate me not trusting him. Also, I love the lamp on the left here. The effect around it makes it seem like this is either a sort of glowing liquid in a glass orb or some kind of shining metal as opposed to it just being a lamp. Moving on again, we're in the Forest of Bones now, or the Marrow as it seems to be called. I love the spines in the background, working almost like unstable pathways over the lava. And these platforms here are also unstable, probably due to whatever this blue stuff is inside of the stone. I wonder why it rumbles all the time though. That seems to be a bit of an extreme effect. Also, you can see how each of the vertebrae moves under the weight of this enemy right there. Hollow Knight did not have the environment reacting to the movements of enemies like that, so that's hundreds and thousands of extra animations that have to be done for everything and anything in this game. Now in this next scene, we just see Hornet on this moving platform, but there is more to it, because this one is a nice example of the change in art style. I'm now gonna show you footage from the 2022 trailer, right next to the new trailer. Now we see this amazing looking area, which is part of Greymoor, with these crow-like bugs. It is a graveyard, and near the right end of it, bells are strewn across the floor, and a big bundle of them can be seen hanging there, which probably can be used as a platform. I also really love this big building that's a bit dilapidated in the background. And also, again, here's a comparison between the new Greymore look and how it looked in an old screenshot. We see a new enemy in this next shot, which is probably a grown-up version of this enemy from the Xbox trailer, and Hornet is using the wind currents here to gain upwards momentum. Then we are back in Bellheart, one of the, if not the major returning hubs in the game. We can see a quest board on the left here. Right next to it is a shopkeeper we have seen quite a lot of, and the bench, which looks incredibly well integrated into its environment. The only other new thing we see here is the arrow-like sign pointing to the right here. By the way, I also think this sleeping bug looks super cool, and we are gonna see them later. Now we are at Forgedaughter's place, who was also in the Deep Docks demo of Silksong, and we can actually see some of the items and prices here. Additionally to rosaries, we will also need this thing here to craft the sting shard tool and some of the other tools. And by the sounds of it, Forgedaughter does not actually like creating tools that are made for killing. Below that one, we see a tool that is part of the blue category that we have never seen before. It seems to reduce lava and heat damage. I reckon falling in lava with this equipped will only deal 1 damage instead of 2, and we will probably be able to run on hot coal longer with this one equipped as well. And for just a second, we also see the crafting kit. It seems to be a way to craft more tools, maybe on our own without the help of Forgedaughter. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I find it very interesting. Now, probably one of the biggest reveals of the trailer was the lower part of the map of Farlum, and let me show you some of the most exciting parts of this map. From right to left, because that is the way the camera pans, we got Pilgrim's Rest here, a new settlement that I am not sure we have seen before. Next to it is a long way down, maybe an elevator of sorts. Seems to be a shortcut from halfway across Greymore to the lower levels. Then we got Deep Docks here, in some of its glory, with at least one path being not explored yet. And we also see some pins being used to mark spots of interest all across the map. Above it, we see the Hunter's March. I'm not sure if we've seen this area before, but these two things seem significant. One seems like it might be some kind of statue, and the other might be where we meet the Huntress, who is this game's version of Hollow Knight's Hunter NPC. I think this is where we meet the Huntress. I'm just gonna say it. And as we pan, I noticed that we have seen as good as nothing from this map. There seem to be many areas. I mean, in this snippet alone we see 10 areas in total, and we are moving horizontally, not really moving that far up. And Silksong will be all about moving up. But let's continue going through it. We got Bellheart here, which is its own area, and which will allow us to move a bit above and also inside its underbelly. Then of course to the left and right of Bellheart, we got Shellwood and Greymore. We've seen quite a lot of Greymore, but I reckon the Shellwood could be this area, since there seems to be watery stuff here, and we sure as hell got water here as well, but I'm not sure about that one. And by the way, there's a city of sorts in Greymore as well, the Halfway Home. Maybe this place could be halfway up to the Citadel, or at least to the Gilded City. The 2 points of interest we know that we will be heading towards on our journey through Farlum. Also, just take a look at these giant arches. I swear, if these turn out to be giant ribs or something, my theory brain is gonna lose it. Then moving further to the left, we got Moss Grotto, and I think this scene right here might just be a straight open plain that we have to follow all the way to the right, where we get to see Bonebottom, our starting town, which I think will be glorious. And then on the top left, we got 2 more areas. One is called something with ways at the end, and the other one we have no clue about. Only the colors that kind of resemble what the area could be about. We might have seen the top left area though, as it should be the area we go through in the opening cutscene. We even got the bridge that collapses in the opening cutscene marked on a map here. 2 more very interesting things before we move on. We see these symbols here, which I think are for merchants, as this one is in Bonebottom, but this one in Deep Docks seems to be Forgedaughter, so that gives us more of an idea of what this has to be basically. And lastly, we have these things on the map. I do not think that they are where the bells are located that we have to free, but they seem to be something big that is lodged through multiple rooms each time. What do you think they are? To me, they kind of look like giant teeth. Anyway, here's a good look at the map so far in one image. Thanks to Cheka for sending me this image they made. I probably butchered that name. And also, let's see how it compares to the map I made 5 years ago. Back then I mislabeled Bonebottom for some reason, but it was pretty spot on with the 4 areas we also have named in the new map. Just switch around Forest of Bones, aka the Marrow, and the Deep Docks, and it is actually quite alright of a guess. I'm actually kind of proud of myself. You can take a look at that video if you want to and get a little blast from the past and see how far we've come, I guess. But now let's continue on from this awesome map and move on to more gameplay. We see this enemy again, which we had seen before, but this time it is not in the Clover area, but rather in another part of Moss Grotto. We then move towards the scene we have seen in the Rogue Ally trailer in similar fashion, with Hornet killing some bone deer. And we can see some rings we can zip towards up above. And there we have it, the ice area. There's a new enemy here that immediately gets killed, and Hornet moves on to kill a second and third one just for good measure. And Hornet's health is frozen here, meaning that if we don't have a tool or maybe a cloak that gives us enough warmth, we will probably have issues in this area. Also, look at all these gondolas. I love the design of them. As someone who comes from a mountainous country, I love that Hornet will be able to get the Austrian cultural experience. Now she's only missing the Leberkassemmel and she's good to go. But okay, now back to... Now back on topic again. Next up, we finally see the ants again. It has been a while, but they are still here and will probably be in the more difficult parts of the Marrow, or is it the Farfields? Again, some of these areas, they mesh together in my mind and I don't know which one's which. The next one is an escape sequence we have seen before, and I still think these faces off to the right here are extremely creepy. Again, Team Cherry always has some kind of lore reason for anything in their games. So what is the lore reason for this Lovecraftian nightmare? Next up we see a battle we have also seen before, which I reckon will take place here? Why you ask? Cause you know, just trust me, that's why. I got this one, trust me. Next up we got the last judge boss fight, Slippy sliding around, before we finally see a new cutscene. The ground is made up of oddly shaped discs with weird engravings. Hornet herself stands on top of what looks like the main symbol of Falun. To me, this seems to be a pivotal point in the story. I reckon this could be just outside the Gilded City, which could then mark the start of the second half of the game. And now right after this cutscene, we are in the Gilded City, so I think I might be onto something here. And the Gilded City is an area we have seen so much of and yet can hardly piece together anything at all. I think that this area will be an absolute fan favorite, if not the overall fan favorite. I do love these new platforms we see here. They look so insanely uncomfortable to walk on. Maybe the architect of the Gilded City was really stupid or something, I don't know. Then we go back to the ranted room of the League of Legends player, an area I will call the Stink Layer. And this is basically just a continuation of the same room we had just seen in the Gamescom opening night live footage. We then fight some occultists in front of these barred windows that kind of look like harps to me, and then we get this wonderful shot we had seen in screenshots before right here, with a new purple tool and a white ability equipped that looks like a Spider-Man symbol, but it's probably just the very move Hornet is just pulling off right now. And there we have it. Silksong will have over 200 total foes, which means we are looking at about 50 more than Hollow Knight, with this big one being one of them. It uses a chain as a fist to punch Hornet harder and misses, so how's that working out for you? And this is also maybe the nicest look at this bamboo area we have gotten in a while. Again, there are so many areas we have seen already that I feel like theoretically we should know most of the areas, or at least a tiny bit of most of the areas. I love the chains that are suspended here, gives a real mechanical vibe to the area, something that Falun as a whole has going for it. Then we go to the area I will for now dub the Clover Grove because it rolls off the tongue, and we got, I think, a closed door to the left here because we have to battle these two enemies first. Now this is still in the enemies section, not the bosses section, but I would base off the attacks of these enemies 100% believe me if you told me that these two were bosses. Like, their moves look insane to me. The architecture is also really cool here. It doesn't adhere to the normal Falun motif of bells or a big ball of silk, so these bugs might be from a different faction altogether, with no ties to the kingdom. We also got yet another new tool here. Kind of looks like a blunderbuss or something. Moving back to the main faction though, we have seen this fight in this room before, but we have not seen this crest yet. Obviously I do not know what its special thing is, but I do like the swirly vibe of it. And now we move on to the section with over 40 bosses. I think I've covered that one extensively in the Gamescom video, but people did point out that they kind of seem like a dancing couple in a music box. So I kind of wanted to give those people a shout because I think that's a very cool idea. And second up, we have what to me is quite obviously a wannabe weaver that's trying to protect this here bell which is wrapped in silk. Like, this guy's just silly. This is for real just a malnourished weaver cosplayer. And as we know, awakening the bells will be very important throughout the game. So this is possibly a very important boss. Probably somewhere in the Gilded City as well. We know he does mean business though, as he's able to pull up bells with strings of silk. Should this one be able to use silk like that if that was no weaver? Like, what's up with this guy? We also see Hornet do her little Mary Poppins move here, which we also see in screenshots, which we will discuss later. And lastly, we can see a national symbol of Falun on these drapes here, which I think further signifies that this room is quite important. And now we are in the deepest den of the League of Legends player, right in the center of the stink layer. And he has found us, and because we play as a woman, he immediately tries to war us. Jokes aside though, I do really like the skull this one wears as a decoration we see for a split second here. I think it adds a lot. And then we are back once again to see Trobbio here, who we also saw in the announcement trailer. This area now has a totally different vibe to it, letting go of the pinkish, violetish hue in favor of a bronze and red look. Then we got another look at these two that we also saw in the Xbox trailer. Interestingly, the area they are in is still kind of unaccounted for, and I feel like we will learn how to do the drill move after beating this boss. Also, we got this tool here, which I think is some kind of elemental damage applying thing, since we also see it, for example, with a purple tinge to it in a different section of the trailer. And now we also get a better look at Thorny Theodore over here. And yeah, this boss still looks gross and I love it. Definitely looks like it could be hiding away in a hidden corner of one of the earlier areas in the game. And this time around, we see it spawning an enemy, a little leaf creature of sorts. By the way, I do think that this boss will maybe be one of the hardest in the game. It looks kind of tough. And we also got another new tool here, namely a long pin of sorts. Maybe this one we can use as a melee weapon with more range or something. And now we see the big robot boss. Nothing new to report here, so here's just a side-by-side of the same boss from 2019 versus 2025. Now in this time we actually see that this cool character here has traveled all the way up from Belhart. This settlement seems to be quite far up in the Gilded City, maybe some kind of outpost that manages to remain cult-free. Oh, and by the way, we cannot rest on this chair. This is not a bench, it really is just a chair. Up next is a side-by-side of the fast travel animation from then versus now. And next up, who the fuck are you? Since this is a part of a cutscene, this one must be quite important. Yet, I do not believe this has to be a boss. I think this could be a short training montage cutscene we get when maybe getting a stronger needle and trying it out with Needle Master or something like that. Next up, we finally got our first Thespian Lex scene in the game. Sadly, it is not with Lace, to the dismay of half of the community, but with this creature. Almost, because Hornet slaps this thing in what is surely the best animation in the game. Also, what is this thing on the right here? Looks like one of those huge candy balls with chewing gum in the center. And next up, another side-by-side, this time from the second Lace boss fight. And then we're already at the end. But what is that at the bottom? Is this void? Surely not. But then listen again, and yes, this is the crazy thing I found. The music here matches the ambient music from the Abyss in Hollow Knight. Listen. What does this mean? Is Void, like I predicted in a video half a decade ago, really also in Silksong? I honestly think this all but confirms it, and I cannot wait to see how Void will work as a secondary antagonist this time around. By the way, if you wanna see that Void video from back in the day, here you go. Let's see if I end up being right about that one. And that's it for the trailer, but we do have more screenshots that were uploaded on GoG. Or is it just GoG? I don't use this service, I don't know what it's called. It's off-brand Steam. Okay, I'll call it off-brand Steam. There are 5 screenshots on off-brand Steam in particular that I find especially interesting. First up, here's a cool new look at the Bell Beast boss fight. I still reckon we still have to beat and tame this bug in order to use it as a fast travel bug, I think. Secondly, here's yet another look at this absolutely gorgeous ice area. Take a look at the peculiar pattern in the back here. I think it looks interesting to have such a large consistent pattern anywhere in the back. The third most interesting one is this here. Nothing new to see here per se, but my god, this game is gorgeous, and I think this Clover Grove area is one of the best. And now for the 2 screenshots I actually got something to say about. We have these weird creatures that try to electrocute Hornet, and she has to Mary Poppins down this area without getting hit. And I think this area could be in the barnacle area we have seen so little of. Theoretically, we could also be sinking in a pool of water here, but at this point I do not think that they hid a diving mechanic from us all this time, right? Surely not. And last but oh so not least, we got my thumbnail bait. These new enemies fighting Hornets that are a part of Stefan's squad. The boss I named Stefan back in 2019, and I'm not stopping now. And I'm always so excited when it comes to civilizations or factions in these games that seem to be doing their own thing, and these fit the bill. Like, look at the lamppost looking structures here, or the blue shining testicles that are hanging from the ceiling. And also Hornet seems to be doing a counter attack here, similar to one Lace can do in her boss fight, so there's just so much to take in here. Anyway, now that's it for real. These videos are a ton of work, so if you have enjoyed what I make thus far, please subscribe. That's the best way to ensure that I will be able to give it my all when it comes to Silksong content as well. And that said, thanks to my Patreons for being my Patreons and supporting me. This has been a blast to cover. Let me know any and all of your thoughts. I'll try to read as many of your comments as I can. My name is stizzl, and we are now less than 2 weeks away from Silksong. Bye, Panada.